So now that we've launched this app, it's up and running in production and everything's going well. You've deployed to it a bunch of times. You're happy. You're not having to deal with anything anymore. Well, suddenly something happens. Maybe you deploy and maybe you've got a bug that wasn't exposed immediately when you deployed, but now it's been exposed and it's causing your application to crash. So what do you do and how do you go about it? So as we mentioned in some of the previous series, Nanobox is not a black box. We don't lock you out of anything. In fact, we encourage you to get in and we try to make the process of facilitating access to debug and investigate as simple and intuitive as possible. And so what I've done ahead of this screencast, I've actually gone and caused a problem within our application. And I'm going to show you the process that you can follow to be able to identify the issue and also how you can go about fixing that. So as I go to view this app, I see that, oh no, the app isn't working and it's unable to handle this request. Well, what happened? Everything was going so well. Well, let's figure out first off if there's anything in our logs. So that would be step one. Is there anything in our logs that would indicate that there's a problem? And so let's go ahead and expand these out, and we're looking through our logs and we're looking at our, and I notice here, ooh, web.main, stop. Huh, stopping app. Well, that's interesting. So why was the app stopped? Now this is totally contrived. I literally went in and stopped the app manually, so you wouldn't actually see this scenario unless one of your other team members or you did it in your sleep or something actually went and did that. But the point being here is that step one is always to go to your logs and see if there is a smoking gun. Obviously there is a smoking gun because the application was stopped. Okay, the application was stopped. I need to get in there and I need to start this application over again. Now in this case, I could, and this is something that I could do, I won't do this here, but what I could do is I could say, well, I don't really care why it was stopped and I don't really want to get in there. What I could do is I could come up in here and I could just hit refresh, which would stop and start the processes. I also could reboot all of the underlying container. I could rebuild, which essentially is the same as a deploy. It's going to launch all new containers, get them all configured, update the routing mesh. And I could do any of these three. And in this particular scenario where the app where the application inside of these containers has manually been stopped, any one of these operations would actually fix it. So that's the next logical step that I would take is first I check the logs and is there a smoking gun? If so, can it be fixed by simply restarting the processes? Can it be fixed by rebooting the container? Or can it be fixed by simply just completely rebuilding and starting over? And sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes there's something within the application. Sometimes you actually need to start a console. Like for instance, if you're Rails, maybe you need to do a Rails console. And many of these languages have a version of a console. Sometimes you just need more access. So let's go ahead and console in. So if we click console, we'll notice that the way that we can hop into this app is by simply running nanobox console web.main. And again, we just have to make sure that we are in the root of our application and that we have added the application as a remote to this project and code base, which we clearly have. And so knowing that, I can simply run nanobox console web.main, which will drop me directly into the running container. And I can confirm that when I run ps-aux, I do not see my Python app running. So I could even get a little bit closer into that by grepping for Python. So this is a Python app, very simple, and I know there should be a Python process. And I can make sure that it's not running, and it's not running. So then in this case, what I could do is I could make sure that the application is started. So let's try this again. And there we go. Looks like the application is now up and running. So if I were to go back up here, refresh the page, there we go. App is now back and running. Everything is happy. So you can see that we've got multiple ways of actually getting in and affecting change. It's not a black box. We start with our logs looking for a smoking gun, and then we see if there's something easy that we can do. Like for instance, now let me just kind of show you what this might look like. So inside of, if I were to simulate this contrived scenario again, I can stop the app, and looks like our app is down again. So I just go in here to admin and say, let's just make sure that that the application is stopped and started. So or restart them, start them back up. And this would actually do what we did manually. All right, we're back up and running. So there's lots of different ways that you can actually get in and fix something, and that's ultimately what I hope I've been able to demonstrate in this demo. Is really Nanobox is not a black box. We don't prohibit access in any way. In fact, we encourage it, and we add lots of processes that will facilitate that communication. So hopefully this has been informative and gives you a sense of what it might look like to be able to debug and troubleshoot your app in production. So thanks for joining, and we hope to see you soon.